Anna Walshe was born in 1983 in Belgrade, Serbia. Immigrated to the United States in 2005. She worked in the hospitality industry, which is how she met Brian Walshe, who she married in December 2015. They shared 3 sons, ages 2, 4, and 6. Anna met Brian in 2008 at a hotel in Lenox, where she was working as a reservation manager. At the time, she was married to a chef who had previously worked at the inn at Little Washington in Virginia, where she had her first job as a housekeeper and server after immigrating from Siberia. As she climbed the professional ladder, Anna stayed in touch with Brian. In 2013, she began dating Brian, and her divorce was finalized the following year. Brian was flashy and showy, and that's what Anna liked about him. He appeared to embody the things she wanted. She had a mental vision for the house, cars, family, and lifestyle she wanted it, and she thought he could provide it. Anna had left behind her life in D.C. and moved in with Brian and his mother, but it proved too small to contain both Anna and her mother-in-law's strong and sometimes clashing personalities. In July of the following year, the newlyweds welcomed their first child. They named him Thomas after Brian's father. In the fall of 2016, Anna insisted, for the first time in Brian's life, he leaves the nest. They purchased a home on Jerusalem Road in Massachusetts. Over the next several years, Anna built a real estate portfolio of homes the couple would either flip or rent out. After demonstrating her powers with real estate, she changed careers and took a job with a group that specialized in high-end homes. She owned multiple properties worth at least $1.88 million. During her marriage, she had taken out over $2.7 million in life insurance on herself, where Brian was the sole beneficiary. She also carried a policy through her employer. Wanting to return to D.C., in 2022, she took a job at a real estate firm, Tishman Speyer, sold the Jerusalem Road house in 5 days for $35,000 over asking price, and brought a home in D.C. Brian and the boys, meanwhile, moved into a rental home in Massachusetts. Anna split her time between her home with Brian in Massachusetts and her residence in Washington, D.C., while waiting for Brian to resolve some legal issues so that he and the boys could join her in the new home. Back in April 2021, Brian had pled guilty to a federal fraud charges for taking authentic paintings from a friend and using photographs of them and their documentation to attempt to sell replicas on eBay for $80,000. For more than 5 years, he had been running a scam. It all started on a 2011 trip to South Korea, where he convinced his college friend's family to give him 3 Andy Warhols, 2 Keith Harings, and a Chinese statue, plus all of the paperwork proving their authenticity. He assured the family that he could sell the artworks on their behalf. When Brian returned to the United States, he hired a skilled New York-based forger to copy the Warhols. From there, he orchestrated a classic bait and switch operation. He showed buyers the originals and the paperwork and then sold them the fakes. He was about to get away with stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars until the U.S. art dealer, Ron Rivellin, filed a formal complaint with the FBI. Brian was in home confinement at the time of Anna's disappearance due to this crime. His house arrest bracelet was not equipped with GPS tracking, and he had an exemption that allowed him to take the boys to school. He was sentenced in federal court February 2024 to 3 years in prison. He was ordered to pay restitution of $475,000 and return the original paintings. Brian had fooled people about his wealth, his profession, and his inheritance. One time, he even claimed that he and a college roommate had sold an airline ticketing service to Expedia for close to $200 million when he was in his 20s. He would tell people that he was wealthy and Persian. He told friends he owned a home at 225 Beacon Street, a 5-story, 6,000 square foot brownstone. However, Brian didn't own the fabulous brownstone at 225 Beacon. Despite what he told his friends, his mother held the deed to the home, and she allowed him to live there with her. Brian was consistently bouncing checks and having trouble with his credit cards. According to his former best friend, money wasn't Brian's endgame, but rather something he used in order to build relationships and buy acceptance. It was all pay to play for him. Brian had been estranged from his father for more than a decade, after his father had accused him of swindling him out of nearly $1 million from a real estate deal gone bad. In September 2018, Brian learned his father had died while on a trip to India and was upset when he learned that his father had left him, his only child, his only best wishes in his will, and nothing from his estate. Brian then filed paperwork in Plymouth County petitioning the court to name him as his father's only child, the sole representative of his father's estate in the absence of any will. 2 months later, the court agreed. So, Brian went to Senator Bank and drained his father's account of over $75,000. He then logged onto his computer and uploaded photos of more than 100 of his father's prized belongings and posted an ad online for an estate sale. What Brian didn't know was that a close friend of his father's had been to the Walshe's house before Brian, spotted the will, and, not trusting his dear friend's only son, took a picture of it. He then went to the authorities, and in February 2020, the court declared that his photograph of Thomas's Walsh will was valid. Brian was accused of allegedly destroying the original will and stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from his father's estate. In December 2022, Brian began to suspect his wife was having an affair. The day after Christmas, he had his mother, with his input and direction, obtain and hire a private investigator to watch on while she was in Washington, D.C. A couple days later, while having dinner with a friend in D.C., Anna became very upset and told her friend she believed that Brian was going to be incarcerated as a result of his federal case and that she was prepared to leave him and take the children to Washington. She flew back to Massachusetts on December 30, 2022 for a New Year's Eve dinner that she and Brian were hosting in their home with her former boss. Brian told investigators that he and Anna went to bed after the party on New Year's Eve, but that Anna had a work emergency and had to fly back to Washington to be at work the next morning. He said that she got ready, kissed him goodbye, and told him to go back to sleep, and left between 6 and 7 a.m., taking an Uber, Lyft, or taxi to the airport. She was originally scheduled to return to D.C. on January 3rd of 2023. Later that same day, the babysitter arrived in the afternoon. Brian left around 3 p.m. to get groceries and then went to his mother's around 4 p.m. in Swampscott, about an hour drive from where they lived, to run errands for her at Whole Foods and CVS, but claimed he forgot his cell phone and got lost. But an analysis of his phone determined that he was actually plugged in the morning of January the 1st. Investigators also did not observe Brian on video at the Whole Foods or CVS in Swampscott on January 1st, as he stated. However, while his phone was at the house, the oldest child's cell phone was not. He purposely left his phone at home and took his son's in the hopes of not being tracked. Investigators learned around 5:30 p.m. surveillance video showed Brian and his vehicle going to a dumpster in the parking lot of a liquor store and disposing of items before returning to his car. Afterward, cell phone data shows he traveled to a dumpster at an apartment complex where his mother lived and disposed 10 trash bags that contained bloodstains, cleaning materials, a hacksaw, a hatchet, a Prada purse, a piece of a necklace Anna had been pictured wearing, boots worn by Anna, along with her COVID-19 vaccination card. The phone then went to a Lowe's store, and Brian purchased 5 5-gallon buckets, a hacksaw, 48 terry cloth towels, a full coverage suit, 200 disposable rags, trash bags, and cleaning products. The phone's next location picks up at a CVS store where Brian purchased 13 different types of hydrogen peroxide. January the 1st, 2023, the morning that Anna was supposed to have left for the airport, Brian made a series of Google searches on his son's iPad between 4:50 a.m. and 6:30 a.m., including how long before a body starts to smell, 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to, how long for someone to be missing to inherit, and how to clean blood from a wooden floor. January 2nd, the day after he claimed Anna had taken a flight back to Washington, D.C., her cell phone pinged in the area of their home. Surveillance also showed that on this day, Brian went to Home Goods and purchased 3 rugs. The babysitter stated that she noticed the downstairs rugs and a trash can had been replaced. Also, at a Home Depot, he made a $450 cash purchase of cleaning supplies, including mops, bucket, tarps, goggles, a hatchet, and baking soda. Investigators also found several more Google searches that were made on the son's iPad from 9:30 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. What happens when you put body parts in ammonia? How long does DNA last? Is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them? Can you be charged with murder without a body? And can you identify a body with broken teeth? At 3:14 a.m. on the morning of January 2nd, Anna's cell phone was in use for the last time. No outgoing calls were made and it was turned off. There also had not been any activity on her credit or debit card since January the 1st. January 3rd, 2023, evidence showed that Brian continues to search the internet for information on how dead bodies decompose. What happens to her on a dead body? What is the rate of decomposition of a body found in a plastic bag compared to on a surface in the woods? The removal of odor of decomposing bodies, a crime scene cleanup company, how to detect blood using fluoride, and how to remove blood stains from concrete. Cell phone data and video surveillance showed on this day that Brian went to 3 different apartment complexes discarding items into their dumpsters. The garbage bags were taken away and incinerated by the time police tracked them down. The real estate company, Tishman Speyer, called to report that Anna did not show up for work on January 4th, 2023. When police arrived at her home for a wellness check, they noticed Brian's vehicle had the back seats down and a plastic liner in the back of the car. The next day when they spoke with Brian, police noticed that the plastic liner was gone from his vehicle and the carpet of the car showed fresh vacuum streaks. Blood was also discovered in a number of areas, including the rear trunk. An image of Anna was released to the public, stating she had been reported missing, last seen in the early hours of the morning on January 1st, 2023. Her description, 5'2" and about 115 pounds with brown hair, brown eyes, olive skin, and an Eastern European accent. A couple days after her image was released, investigators received the email saying, "We have the so-called Anna Walshe with us here. We had a deal worth $127,000. She messed up," read the email, which was sent from the Gmail account of Richard Walker 9984. It went on to say, "We have her here with us, and if she doesn't pay the money, then she'll never be back. And we know that the police and the FBI are involved. Good luck finding us." The email was suspicious to investigators because it did not have a time frame on when to respond to the demand, and it did not include any contact information. Brian was arrested on January 8, 2023, and charged with misleading a police investigation after investigators searched his home and found blood in the basement, a bloody knife, and tarps. The door to the basement was padlocked and consisted of bloodstains. 10 days later, he is arrested and charged with murder and disinterring a body without authority, to which he pleads not guilty. Prosecutors allege that he beat Anna to death and dismembered and disposed of her body. Prosecutors said evidence that Brian suspected his wife was having an affair is a potential motive in the case. The case officer in the murder investigation is Massachusetts State Trooper Michael Proctor, the trooper who also managed the John O'Keefe murder investigation and is now under fire for his unprofessional conduct that has come to light in the Karen Reed trial. The Commonwealth has stated that they don't intend to call Michael Proctor to testify in this case. Proctor remains under investigation and suspended without pay from the Massachusetts State Police. The judge in this case, Beverly Cano, is also overseeing the Karen Reed murder trial at the same courthouse. The next hearing in this case is scheduled for October 2nd, 2024. Brian lost his private attorney in December 2023 because he could no longer afford her services. He has since been appointed a public defender. Searches for Anna have been unsuccessful, even as the investigation fanned out from the area of her home to other towns in the state. The Walshe's 3 young sons are now in the custody of the state's Department of Children and Families. Stay tuned, this case should be going to trial soon.
I spoke with Anna's friends, Natasha and Pamela, as their concerns grow. Watch. What do you know about Brian?
Unfortunately, not much, because every time when we would have a conversation about Brian, it would be switched to children or brushed off. So we...
What do you mean brushed off? How would the conversation go?
Literally switching the subject. So, and I said, Anna, if there is anything it's okay. And she said, everything is fine.
So some of our sources that we've been talking to, some of her friends, have said that her husband Brian, had this no picture policy. I mean, it's even hard to find pictures of her out there when we want to remember her life and try to get answers for her. Did y'all hear anything about that? Does that surprise you, this no picture policy?
Hard to say. She was hiding, truly. But the absence of him, I understand that even on New Year's Eve, my friend said that he would not even take personal photos between friends, that he was missing in the photos during the New Year's Eve. That he would take pictures of everybody else, but not of himself. So there must be some reasons for it. I don't want to speculate what the reason, but it is odd.
Did Anna have the type of personality that, if anything perhaps was going on, would she ever display it? Or was that against her personality?
That's what probably we felt, that absolutely nothing about personal. And also at the parties, she was alone. She was not with a husband. Even if she would be a sponsor.
She never showed up to social settings with Brian?
Him, no. That was unusual.
I have to ask you, and forgive me for asking this question, but do you believe Anna is alive, or do y'all believe Anna is dead now that you know what you know?
1 in a million chance, that's what I would answer. Not because Pamela and I know her personally, how Anna is driven and how she's independent,
Right.
she would find a way to reach out to people if something would happen to her. If the person is missing for 11 days, nowadays with the social media, with the world being connected so quickly, and with the evidences that unfortunately came up, and especially with the police reports, every day it's unfortunately looks dim and dark.
When I just saw the poster, the social media post missing, my stomach went upside down. I knew something was wrong.
So obviously we got to talk about the children, because the children are in child protective custody right now.
Yes.
You guys have spoken out about being concerned about their well-being, and you don't want them split up.
They need to be together. They need love, they need home, they need to be together. Everything what they have is frankly each other, right? And they need familiarity with the children who were interacting with them before. But we all deserve to know justice. We all deserve to know what happened to Anna, especially her children.
Next 90 seconds or so, you're going to hear Alyssa Kirby describe the last time she saw Anna, the argument she allegedly was having with Brian, and also how she perceives their marriage.
I actually was with her on Thursday night. We had our last time I was with her was that Thursday before we went out for dinner. We went out dancing till really late, and then she left that Friday morning to go back to Boston. They had many fights about, like, when are we finally gonna come to DC? When am I gonna be with my kids? That was her priority. And so I know they were experiencing a lot of stress together, and I know it had been a very tense Christmas. So, I mean, a lot of that we discussed also. But really, never an indication that she feared for her life. Never an indication that, she felt unsafe even. It was just a frustration of, like, I just want to be with my kids. I just want to be back here. She always described him as her best friend, that they were very close, like love at first sight. That was always what she said, that she trusted him, that, anything he may have done wrong in the past, maybe it was just bad choices. She was a good person. And it's sort of like knowing that now it's jarring, it's gut-wrenching, it's uncomfortable. It's not fair what happened.
We're also learning more from Anna's family. Her mother, who lives in Serbia, spoke with Fox News and Digital last night. Her mother said 1 week before the disappearance, Anna had begged her to come visit the next day. The mother said clearly there must have been some problems. Her mother also told us Anna called her at 1 a.m. January 1st, hours before she went missing. And her mother told us she now regrets not taking that call.
Cohasset man accused of killing his wife appeared in court today. A judge ordered the case of Brian Walshe to be continued until December 2nd. He's being held without bail for allegedly killing his wife Anna in their home early New Year's Day.